Okay, we are live. Welcome, everyone. Hello. You guys know me. I'm Nancy Ganzikofer, business coach, and you guys know my guest too. I know you do. LuAnn Nigara, speaker, author, podcast host, and owner of Window Works in New Jersey as well. Welcome to Weekend Wind Down again, LuAnn.
Oh my God, I'm so happy we're back. We're back here. Cheers to you.
Cheers, cheers. We call it Weekend Wind Down for a reason, guys. My reason to be able to have a glass of wine at 4:30 now on a Thursday. So for those of you who have been following me for a while, you'll know that I did Weekend Wind Down for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years before I took a break. And I always did it on Fridays at 4:30. And I decided I wanted to bring it back because I miss talking to people once a week like this, kind of free-form conversation, no agenda, no specific lessons, just conversation about running a profitable business, how hard it is to be a business owner. And I chose LuAnn to be my first guest on the relaunch because LuAnn and I, 5 years ago, come January, started the new manifestation of ourselves 5 years ago at the same time, January 2016.
Crazy.
So, crazy, right? So that's when I said, that's when I decided that I didn't want to just be an art consultant. I also wanted to take my other skills that I found I was helping people with which was growing their businesses, and become a business coach. And you decided at the same time to start your podcast. So tell everyone quickly about that.
Well, and first I want to say hi to the people showing up. Sonia and Sharon, both were at LuAnn Live, and Nisha, my Instagram friend. I don't think I've met her in real life yet, but we certainly are talking every day on Instagram. Thanks, guys, for showing up. So that same year, the podcast went live in February of 2016. Of course, the idea came in that July 2015 and working on it and getting the launch together and stuff. And it's very similar, Nance, you know, how you were all, it's funny because we were both doing the same thing. You were doing art consulting. I was doing window treatment consulting, but we were both always the person that the designers that we worked with would pick our brains on how to run businesses. Like, why was your business so successful, LuAnn? How do you do this? And how do you do that? And so it became, hey, I would love to do a little bit more of that. I'd love to talk more about that. And I know that's the same thing that happened for you as well. You know?
Yeah, I mean, being in people's homes and being industry partners, as we both are, right? We help interior designers sell window treatments, and in my case, artwork. And we're witnessing what's going on with the client, right? We're witnessing whether they are upselling well, and we're the person outside the door that they're venting to, the interior designers, that, you know, life is difficult right now, blah, 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 employee issues, profitability issues, and that's both of our superpowers, right? And sales. So it felt like a calling. I know it felt like a calling for me. It's time to switch.
Absolutely. Just making more organized what I was already enjoying doing, talking to business owners about making their businesses more profitable and more intentionally running it. And Elizabeth is here, Elizabeth Scruggs. I just want to know our friends.
I'm trying to put, if anyone's watching from my group, the Interior Design Business Forum, come over to my business page, Nancy Ganzikofer Business Coach, because when you comment there, I can actually see who's commenting. Yeah. If you're commenting from inside my group, I can only see, like it says, I'll show you. It says Facebook user. And I'm like, who is that?
Yeah. So, well, I have to say, it's probably a good thing while I'm podcasting that doesn't happen, because I'm like, oh, look, Ross is here.
I know, I'm multitasking. I'm looking at this screen and that screen, because everyone knows I have the space station here. I have multiple monitors. So here's the thing. When I got on with LuAnn pre-broadcast testing about 15 minutes ago, she's like, wasn't I your first guest on Weekend Wind Down when you started?
I said first or second. I'm not sure.
And you were the second guest. I don't even remember who the first one was, because I think I asked you to be the first one, but the schedule didn't work.
Right. And I remember that. I remember that little nudge. You're like, oh, I kind of wanted you first. And I'm like, yeah, but then you have to start a week later. And you were like, I can't. I already announced the date.
That's right. Hi, Gloria. Oh, it's Chloe.
Huh?
Well, wait, where'd it go? It's Chloe, the Facebook user person inside my group.
Oh, Chloe was in our first class, Money, Mindset, and Sales.
You know what? I still say we need to bring that class back. That was a
We
really
do.
good class.
Let's do it under LuAnn University. We should do
We
that.
should do that. So for those of you who didn't participate, LuAnn and
I
I
can't have a 10-minute conversation without having an idea, either with me or the other person.
I know. See, that's why I like this free form conversation, because it goes wherever it goes.
And I'm going to write it
LuAnn and
down.
I came up with this great title, Money, Mindset, and Sales, that we decided we would never let anyone else use individually. She's not allowed to use it individually. I'm not allowed to use it. And both of us have been tempted many times because it's such a good title.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should do that again. We should do another Money, Mindset, and Sales. There's so many ideas all the time.
I know. And you know what? I think there's a moment there to really have like a I don't want to say teachable moment, because most of the people that are here with us already, I know, are seasoned business owners. So, but just a sharing of it behind the scenes a little, because I'm always saying you can't be afraid to have the hard conversation. And I know that Nancy agrees and understands that too. And it was funny because, you know, a year after we had done that, you know, she says to me, I want to do this. Like, I'm going to do it again, you know, under my, oh, Peter Lang is here. Hey, Pete, how are you? And we had like this heart to heart about Money, Mindset, and Sales. Like, it's such a great title. Can I, you know, could I use it under my umbrella? She said. And the thing was, I remember, I remember thinking, you have to be truthful with the people that you respect, and you have to be truthful with everybody is how I feel, but more so it's important with the people that you respect. And it's harder with the people that you respect to say something. And I had to say, I said, Nance, I got to say, I think it's ours together. I said, I don't think you should use it. I don't think I should use it. I think we should leave it open that we ever use it together again. But it's like you just said, it's such a good freaking name that it's like, how does one of us get it? And so we agreed that, okay. And that's what, you know, happens in business sometimes. Sometimes you got to look at your friend and your colleague and say, what do you think? And you have to come back. And I just feel like we always owe each other honesty, because if I hadn't been honest and I just did one of those, like, I'm going to stereotype and call it a girl thing and say, oh, no, that's okay. Like, and then secretly was like, that's crazy pants. Why are you doing that? We wouldn't have been friends 2 years later, because then resentments form. You would have no idea why there was a resentment, because my outside voice said, go ahead and use it. So when my inside voice says something, you gotta honor yourself and your friends by saying it outside, right?
It's true. And for those of you watching, this happens way more than you think with us in the coaching world, right? There's just so much overlap. There's so much hearing each other speak and just absorbing each other's language. And because we all teach very similar, right? It's just,
well, it's business. You know, I mean, it's not like this new science frontier. We didn't like discover a new thing.
Right. But I wanted to talk today about, I think sometimes that we're looked at as always able to hold it together, maintain our mindset, not have hard days. Look at your face. It's like, you know what? I wanted to talk a little bit about the journey, because in the last 4 3/4 years, almost 5 years, we've both reinvented ourselves or added to our repertoire of our life. We've been multiple things. You've been an instructor for fitness. I've been a fitness instructor. I've been in banking. You've been in window works, window treatments. I've been in artwork. Like, we've manifested ourselves and reinvented ourselves over and over again. Yeah. And this is why I teach a lot of mindset, and so do you, because it's more about mindset than it is sometimes about finding the nuts and bolts. The nuts and bolts are out there to find. It's the mindset that's hard to keep. So are there any particular moments you can think of that were particularly hard transitions for you?
Oh, wait, this is only 1 hour, right?
I told LuAnn, we're cutting off on an hour.
You know what? It's funny because I've had lessons on both sides. Like I always say, what's so funny is I've said to my partner, Billy, and my husband, Vinny, many, many years, whenever we've had a difficulty between the three of us or a difficulty with an employee, I identified a long time ago that I said, you know, what's funny? I think with most people, if you pick a trait that they're really, really like, you really love about them and you respect about them and you think is awesome, usually when we all have people that every person in our lives, our spouses, our children, we're like, that.
Okay, so I asked LuAnn if she got a landline.
Love.
Hold on. LuAnn, you're going in and out.
Crazy about them the most.
Okay,
so
LuAnn,
what I mean by that is like this, like
you got to rewind. You went out. We got internet issues.
That's
so you have just about 30 seconds.
Okay. So the thing that I feel like I've been able to look at people around our world in WindowWorks, employees, partners, family, that the thing you love most about somebody is often the thing that also drives you most crazy about that person. So Billy is a perfect example. Perfect example is my installer, my partner, Billy. He is, as an installer, he is amazing. He is dedicated. He is disciplined. He is focused. And if he is at your house and one thing goes sideways, he is going to pull everything out of his truck that he can to figure out how to fix that thing. But here's the thing. He was supposed to be at somebody else's house at 12 o'clock. And he sort of forgot all about that because he's down a rabbit hole fixing your thing. And so we get these phone calls all the time. Where's Billy? Oh, call Billy. Oh, I ran into a problem here. Really? Maybe you wanted to put your head up and call us. Well, I was, trying to figure it out. And, so what happens is I've ended up saying to customers over the years, I'm so sorry. He really gets so focused on attending to the person that he's at. And I promise you, as frustrating as this is, when he's at your house, you're going to be really glad because he's not going to phone it in and just try and get it done. And so when you say what's been hard in the podcast, it's the same. I've had this aha moment. So easy answer is, how many of us here have had a business? The design business has been their side hustle. The podcast is my side hustle. This year, it was not supposed to be my side hustle. This year, it was supposed to be done and gone. But you see, COVID changed that. Okay. So the first 3 months of COVID, it changed it because we weren't sure if our 39-year-old business was going to go underground.
Wait a minute. What did you mean by done and gone? You weren't shutting it down. You were meaning that was going to be your primary.
Right. In other words, we had developed WindowWorks team to the point that I didn't need to be there every day. I could go one day a week, do my thing, manage the employees, be the, you can call it HR or the mom, whichever you want to call it. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But my day-to-day in the week, we had gotten people in place to take care of that. But with COVID, the first 3 months, we thought the business wouldn't survive. We have a cost to be open over 200K and we did 60,000 the first month of COVID. Yeah. Okay. Ouch. So that's all hands on deck. That's not like, hey, LuAnn, why are you doing? You over there podcasting? Don't worry about it.
Right.
Then the last 3 months of COVID, I was saying on the show, we had 40 and 40 and 45% growth over last June, July, and August. Do you know September just finished yesterday? 73% growth over the best September we've ever done. We are in a completely different problem. Now I work all day in the podcast, and at 4:30, 5 o'clock, I go to WindowWorks for 3 hours every day. I'm at WindowWorks on Sunday. I finally get writers for the show. I don't have to do podcasting on the weekend, but I'm at WindowWorks all day Sunday. So the thing is, here's my two-sided lesson. Takes me an hour to get there. Two-sided lesson is, on one hand, be prepared for working hard and doing two jobs when it's your side hustle and you're stepping across if that's your dream and blah, blah, blah. But then the two-sided lesson is, I'm looking back now and I'm saying, I actually have gotten accustomed. I had this conversation with my daughter 2 weeks ago over a glass of wine till 2 o'clock in the morning. And then again today. And she said to me, you've gotten accustomed to being okay with if we want to get together for dinner at 6:00 and you saying, I really can't, I've got work to do. And she said, and we've all gotten accustomed to that. And she said, and I've personally gotten to the point that I feel like I'm imposing on you to ask you to.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. Shit.
Yeah. And so this is like the real shit, man. Like, it's like, and I'm just like, whoa. I mean, this is a 31-year-old woman. This isn't a child. She is objectively looking at me going, is this really okay? And the thing is, even worse, she's not even looking at me going, wake up. She's saying she was sharing with me the adjustments she's made. And she said,
because she doesn't want to impose on your dream.
And she said, I see what you're doing. It's exciting. It's intoxicating. Yeah, she's my brand manager. She sees the emails. She sees the transformations in people's businesses. And so she just said, I've noticed the shift in myself. I'm now bought in on this is too important for you to pull back. And I was just like, for 2 weeks, my brain is just like, oh my God, you are a mama. You know, you thought these people were grown and cooked, but you're their mama. Like, get your shit together. You know?
Yeah, no, they always need you. And it's true. I mean, I'm a workaholic also. And it's because I have a dream, right? I have a dream and there's nothing going to stand in my way. I got to do it. But my kids can stand in my way. That's the one thing that could stand in my way. If there are moments in time.
It took a lot of courage on her part to have a very calm conversation with me about it. And so, you know, the two-sided lesson of that is that the podcast and building everything from it has been one of the most exhilarating, joyful experiences and accomplishments of my life. But I'm just like, lady, figure it out.
Right. It's hard. It's hard to balance everything. I mean, I remember when I started Expressive Living, the art consulting firm, I knew I was onto something. I had 3 young kids. At the time I had, 3 young kids. They really needed me. Everybody had a medical issue, some more serious than others. And I remember there were days that I felt a little resentful, like, again, I got to take care of this. And other days I'm like, I'm so fortunate that I get to take care of this and that I'm home working and that my business can go slower right now, because really what's the goal in life? It's not going to be how much money I made or whether I grew a business. It's going to be about my family relationships. So there are times that you are allowed to go slower and times you can go faster, but it's definitely setting your priorities, and it's hard.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's like with Window Works, it is, I don't know, you know, I always say the busiest people don't listen to the podcast. So you probably didn't know.
Sorry, yeah. I used to listen to everyone. Now I really can't listen to everyone.
I know. I had an episode about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was a What Would Lou Do show. And there's no question in hindsight, having been through the recession in 91, 92, and really almost losing Window Works for real at that point. I mean, that was 18 months and we did not handle the recession at all. We were asleep at the wheel. And it was, until this, the hardest business thing I've ever gone through. And the good part is that both Vin and myself and Billy learned lessons from it. And with each economic turn down, we did better and better and better. In 2008, we went through I mean, when I say we went through like that, I mean, we weren't exempt from hard decisions of having to let employees be laid off and of doing things like that. But the business kept moving because we didn't wait till crisis mode. We were like, oh, see that? Yeah, I'm sorry. We're going to have to lay off. Oh, see that? We're going to have to sell that. Oh, see that? We're going to have to not have a new truck this year, right? We made good business decisions from hard lessons. But I'm going to tell you what, doing 40, 45, and 73% growth 4 months in a row makes a recession look like a cakewalk. It's a cakewalk. It is.
Yeah, this has been a tough one for
every
so many.
single day. Hi, I know you don't have your window treatment yet. I'm sorry. I know it's been 7 weeks. I know we told you 4. Oh, I know. Yeah. Oh, and then you get there and you find out that the stuff that's been sitting on the box for a month and a half is missing the brackets, but you don't know that when you get to the house. It's like, ugh.
Oh my God. But here's the thing. You never lose faith.
No, you can't. You got to get up every day.
And that's where the mindset comes in, right? You never.
And you have to have Pinot Noir every night.
Cheers to that. You know, it's true. And I was telling one of my clients today, whoops, I keep putting them up and taking them back down by mistake. Yeah, never know how our words impact. And it's important to make space outside your business, which I definitely struggle with. I love working. It's, you know, my kids have said to me, you don't have a hobby. I'm like, yes, I do. My hobby is work. Right? My hobby is my next idea. Like, well, now I'm writing a book and now I'm this and now I'm that. It's like at some point you have to go, I'm going to retire someday, maybe not. And what am I going to do? Like, I look at my father who's 70. Oh God, I wish he was 70, 85. He still has incredible hobbies.
Yeah.
And it keeps his mind occupied for hours. I'm thinking that's never going to be me. I'm going to be coaching people until you put me down in the ground, right? Because that's.
But it gives you joy, you see, and
gives me so much joy.
And it's funny because Sharon's saying how our words have an impact, because that was her other message to me. She said, and when we are together, she goes, sometimes you'll mention what you're not getting done because you're there.
Oh, I'm sure LuAnn, you're gone. You're gone. You know, you gotta love technology. Do you still have I want you to go out and come back in. Okay. Oh my God, this is so funny. So I use a system called Be Live, and sometimes it burps, but all technology burps once in a while. And it's so funny. Oh, here she comes. Okay, you're back. Let me bring you up. Whoops. Wait, that didn't work. Oh, there you are.
That was bizarre.
Yeah, that happened to me the other day too. I don't know why. So wait a minute. Got to put your title back. What did I say? Speaker.
Author. Podcast host.
with a Long Island accent. Podcast host. Okay.
Rachel,
LuAnn and I get along.
Hey,
New Jersey and New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and so that was what she said. And the thing is, I never sit there. She goes, look, you don't sit there and go, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. She says, just mentioning, la, 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 like I've got a show to edit or whatever. She goes, it just makes me have a twinge of maybe I shouldn't have asked you to do this. And I'm telling you, you want to talk about a come to Jesus moment with your own kid. I was like, okay, I'm never going to say that again.
I got to tell you, this is a good message. And I think I probably do the same thing. And I just have never noticed. And my kids are not yet telling me the same thing that your kids are telling you.
Yeah. And the thing is, for our colleagues, our designers listening, many of whom are also building a business and they're focused on it and they're passionate about it. It's not to take, look, I'm not going to not be passionate about this. I'm actually not going to slow down that much. Right. But it's just a matter of how you talk about it, how you handle it. And, I just think that that's the whole point, right? That we've been around the block a time or two. And that's why you come and watch and hear people talk that are further down the line in business with you, is because if I don't actually share with you the lessons I'm learning, what's the point of doing this? I mean, we could just drink, but I mean, what is the point of doing this?
We do that too.
And this is my major most recent lesson. It's like, you're really passionate about this, Lou, but when you're with your family, like, just leave it outside the front door.
Definitely. And, it's hard not to speak about business when it's primarily what you do all the time. I find this all the time, personal life with my kids and everything. At the same time, I really want to keep going, right? But I have to shelve some ideas. Yeah. Because if I don't shelve the ideas, not only am I going to sink myself, my family, I'm going to sink my team, right? I cannot, I don't know about you, but I cannot bring on enough team members to keep up with my ideas
of
what I want to do for people and for clients and for new clients. And I could do this demographic and I could do this. And it's like, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm a body language trainer. I haven't even started rolling out any kind of serious body language training because we just don't have time in the day.
Yeah. So,
what do you do with all your ideas? What do you do with all your future ideas? Where do they sit?
I dump them in Voxer at all the different people that work for me. and then I have like about 10 notebooks over here.
So I put them all on a Trello board now. Trello is one of those organizational things, Asana, Trello, there's all different kinds of management softwares. I put them all on a Trello board. And I no longer even say them out loud to my staff anymore because I don't want to sync them even in their minds until there's space in the team to bring on the next best idea. Does that make sense? Are you frozen again?
I podcast from here. I don't think it's my internet, but in case it's me, I'm going to move closer to the modem because you're freezing.
Okay, I'm on a landline, so I never freeze.
Oh, so then I guess maybe it takes more bandwidth to do this than podcasting, which makes sense because, it's video.
Because of the video. So tell everyone what you've been up to lately.
Well, lately we are getting ready for the book launch and we are getting ready for LuAnn Live. So, and we're got all the soft, it's like a soft launch of LuAnn University that's been going on the last 7-8 months. And so these are all the big initiatives that are happening now. And, stuff's getting real. Deadlines are coming. So,
how many people on your team at this point?
I have 1, 2, 3 full-time people now.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So, and so it's, so LuAnn University, we've been doing like 2 courses in January came out, 1 course in April, 1 course in May, 3 courses in September, 1 course in November. But we're moving to the true university structure, of you can go to my website, look at a syllabus and be like, okay, there's 3 semesters, February, May, and September. And, Nancy is going to be teaching in February and May, and Sarah's going to be teaching in February, May, and September, and Jenny's going to be teaching here. And you can sit in the beginning of the year and figure out all the offerings, what courses you want to take, what semesters you want to take them. And it's, basically all the business from the podcast now taught by the experts from the podcast. And so it's all the courses that they don't give you in design school. It's the next 4 years of education in business that really needs to accompany your skill as an interior designer. And so, we did 2 courses at a time. And then now, like I said, we're doing 4 courses pretty much all at the same time. And the idea is to stress my system, to stress my staff and my system to see where the cracks are, right? And so, because if I just launched with 20 courses at once, so, and we've learned something each time, and we've perfected it, and we've changed it each time. So I'm really glad that we did it this way. And so that's coming. And then, of course, the book is coming out in November. And Alice,
do you have a title for the new book?
Oh, it's volume 2.
Okay.
A Well-Designed Business, the Power Talk Friday Experts, volume 2. And so, and I've got the guts for the 4th book, which will be another solo book. So I've got the outline for 8 chapters in that book, but I just dumped the outline out of my brain on a long plane trip before COVID hit. And it's just sitting on the shelf because I'm just like, okay, I got it out there. I know where I'm going, but I haven't sat down to start writing it yet. I'm not going to tackle it until probably after LuAnn Live in February. And so now it's coordinating the book launch and it's coordinating virtual LuAnn Live, which is going to be off the hook because the bar is high. we had an awesome in-person experience. And so and so it's super, super, super important to me that LuAnn Live Virtual has enough interactive content, that it's not, this is amazing and people are enjoying it. You know what I mean? But we have this, right? We have this.
It's got to be different.
Right. And like for me, it's about that touch feel. It's like, so, I've hired an actual professional TV production company to do it.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, it's going to be off the hook. So,
oh my God, that's so exciting. I was going to say, I want to go back to the book for a second because I'm in the finishing touches of my first book that I'm writing on my own. I'm an author in your first book, your second book. And it is torture. I don't know if I'll ever do it again. And then I started thinking, is it like having a baby where after you have your first baby, you say, I'm never doing this again. This sucked. And then you decide, oh, but I really kind of liked it and I'm going to do it again. Is that the way it is?
No.
No. So I was hoping you'd say, yeah, Nancy, you're going to go for a second book. Really, you are.
No.
It's torture, LuAnn. I'm a talker. I am not a writer.
I know. It's a lot of hard work. For me, what it is once I zone into writing, I love to write and I'm adequately good at it. I'm not like a New York Times bestseller writer and I never aspire to be. But I get, for me, what it is when I'm in writing mode, then I don't want to come up and do anything else. So it's tough to go in and go out. Like I'm the kind of person I know after doing this now 3 times that I could be one of those people, go put me in a cabin for 3 weeks and I'll come out and the book will be done. Except that who's got 3 weeks to stop the world and jump off?
Listen, I'm even impressed with that. You can sit me down for an hour. I write for an hour and I start looking around at 45 minutes going, I'm bored.
Yes. I can get zoned in, but it becomes, with all the other things going on, it's like I do 2 things to myself. I either block out the time and then something suffers, or I go, that's only an hour blocked out. Don't bother. Which you can't do. And that's what I've learned through writing the books. It's sort of like exercise. We both know that if we exercise for a solid hour, 4 days a week, and another half hour, the other 3 days a week, that would be a absolutely amazing maintenance program that would take you forever. And so what happens is you get into this mode where you're like, well, I can only do a half hour today and I can't do it again for 3 more days. So why bother? But see, you can't do that with exercise and you can't do that with writing. It's like you have an hour, you need to bother because you have a deadline.
Right.
And so then it becomes another thing in the to-do list. And so I know now after doing it 3 times that short of going to Bali for 3 weeks, it's going to be a bear.
Well, you have to mention Bali. That's where I was supposed to be the last 2 weeks. So my daughter and I had a trip to Bali planned and it got canceled because of COVID. So we planned it a year ago, a 7-day tour with an Insta famous girl who was bringing her mother. And then it got canceled due to COVID. So I did a staycation the last 2 weeks. This is my first day back. And I was going to get so much done. I was going to finish the finishing touches on the book. I was going to do all the finishing touches on my membership site. I was going to do I'm doing LuAnn University. I was going to write all of that. Yeah, no.
That's not a vacation, though. You probably took a real vacation. You need to
take a real vacation right now. There's nowhere to go. I can only walk.
Yeah, but even just not working is a vacation.
Well, I did take a little bit of. I went at a slower pace. How's that?
All right.
And I didn't take client sessions, although I did let them use Voxer because I still needed to feel needed. I'm like, I get bored very quickly. So I'm like, you know what? If you need to Voxer me. Like, and I'm looking at my phone like, nobody needs me today. But that's how much I love what I do, right? It's like you get just so used to having that constant interaction with people that to just be with yourself and exercise gets harder and harder. And we did talk about exercise before we went live. So I think we should touch on that just to let people know the reality too. So I was a personal trainer. You were a fitness instructor. And since we started our businesses for the most part around the same time, we just don't exercise as much as we used to, which is really bad.
No, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible.
So I did the Apple Watch. I hooked up to my own whole team. We have my team meetings where we have about 9 people. We do a weekly, we have a wellness task in our meetings, and we all set a goal for the week, and then it's true confessions a week later. It's like, so did you drink all the water you said you were going? Like, we don't set people's goals for them. They set their own.
Right.
And then you go, how did you do this week with your goals? Right.
Oh.
Because running a business is hard, and you do have to make sure you have that balance, right? And I have been getting more balance by doing that.
That's good. That's good.
Right.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Still don't do it every week consistently, but I have more good days than I had before I was focusing on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And here's one of the things that I'm sure you do with your clients as well. I don't condone what I do working all the time. I don't. I mean, when my clients say I'm so overwhelmed, I want to grow. Okay, you want to grow. But you did not get here in 4.5 years without ups and downs. I did not get here without ups and downs, mistakes, reinvent, like pivoting, changing, like you said, testing, and then going, that didn't work. Mm-hmm. So let's tweak it or get rid of it and try this instead. Yeah. It is a series of twists and turns, just growing a business of any kind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, it's not for the meek of heart. That's all I can tell you.
I don't care what business you are in. And interior design, which still is primarily the following both of us have, right? It's one of the toughest businesses out there. The
complexities are ridiculous. The complexities are ridiculous. They really, really are. I mean, as compared to so many other business models, I really do think that it is more difficult than a lot of businesses. And there are so many different ways to do it and to charge for it, and to your word, I always say the Nancy G ladder of services, the different services that you can offer. There is not a straight line roadmap, and therefore you add to that, there's no straight line roadmap to being an entrepreneur or a business person to begin with. And I do think that it is particularly challenging for designers. So
It is. And here's the thing. When I say, I'm just going to show some of the comments because I got wrapped up in our conversation and I forgot about it.
And I see Wendy's here too. So Wendy Wellness is here too.
Wendy, where are you? I got to go back. It's a struggle to find balance. Oh, wait, I started with Allison's next. Yes, it is a struggle to find balance. But you know what? On the weeks that you find it, there's a book called The Perfect Day Formula. I love that book. And when I start to struggle, I always go back to that book. It's a really thin, simple read. Don't ask me who the author is. I don't have it next to me. But it's so simple. It's like, think back of that perfect day that you had. How did it start? What time did you wake up? What did you do when you first woke up? Did you exercise? Did you meditate? Did you journal? Did you talk to a friend? If you were to try to repeat this one really good day that you had every single day, how would that feel? Right? We let ourselves go in every single direction.
Yeah.
Let me just look, Allison. Oh, neat. Oh, she's talking about LuAnn University. That's a good plug, Allison.
You were probably coached well to speak up for yourself.
Gee, I wonder who coached Allison.
I wonder, man.
Yeah, people can always tell when I coach them. It's so funny. You know what? Take your opportunities where they exist. Absolutely.
That's it.
Okay, I don't know who this is because it says, "Hi, lady, so smart," because they're inside my Facebook group. Oh. So unfortunately, Be Live can't legally recognize them without their permission. So come on over to Nancy Gansikova Business Coach Facebook page, which is public, and say hi to us so we know who it is. Yeah. Otherwise, I'd have to look. So next 5 years, what are they going to look like for you?
Well, I truly, truly hope that we can go back to having actual live events and I can go back to speaking on stages because I love that. I love that. I love doing that. And that was another, curveball from COVID. I had like 50K in speaking engagements wiped off the slate, So, but I love that. I love doing that. And so I hope sometime we get back to that and not too far from now. I will continue to podcast, of course, continue to build LuU out. There will be another book. I'll do the solo book.
Have you ever thought of reducing the number of podcasts that you do a week? Because that must be really hard to keep up.
It is hard. But you know what it is? This is going to sound really crazy. And this is like, guys are behind the curtain now. I have 6 sponsors. I had to add the extra show, the third show a week, because I had 2 more sponsors. And I don't solicit the sponsors. I have not in almost 5 years, other than Kravit, who I pitched before I even recorded a show. But that is the only sponsor I have ever said, hey, do you want to sponsor this podcast? Every single one of them has come to me. And so this past spring, when 2 more sponsors came along, I was like, am I going to have 3 commercials in every show? Like, that was just like, am I going to do that? And of course I could have. And so instead I was like, we're adding another show.
Right, because it felt icky to be too promotional.
Yeah, well, and the funny thing is I'm not so sure it was so horrible for the listener, right? Like, you can zone out. I don't know if you do or you don't zone out, but I just felt like, was it good for the sponsors to be one of 3 commercials?
True.
And so not knowing it, I wasn't willing to err on the side of maybe it wouldn't be good. It was like, no, LuAnn, it's A game with every person you make a contract with. So A game means you're going to put another show in, sweetie. You know what I mean? And so
let me point out the reason why they're coming to you is because you grew your following, right? So when designers or other coaches or whoever I'm coaching at the time said to me, like, how do I get these opportunities? I always say, start with picking your lane to grow your following, right? Is it going to be Instagram? Is it going to be Facebook? Is it going to be YouTube? Is it going to be TikTok, which I really don't teach, but podcasting, writing a book, speaking on stage, doing Facebook Lives. I don't know what this dog sees, but she keeps seeing something that's making her growl. And it's so funny. She doesn't have to go on my lap anymore. But somehow she knew when it was weekend wind down. And she has to go on my lap. She hasn't asked. Millie. She knew this was going to happen. Somebody's outside my house walking around. She's going to bark constantly.
God forbid. She's going to make sure you're safe.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. There's no one there. So pick your lane, grow your following, right? Yeah. Even for a designer, it's like when you want to attract people to you, try to pick an area to focus on being really good at that in your marketing. This way, people start finding you, right? The net, throwing the net out wide and adding a new social media only after you need to, and you've gotten that one down pat. I think the biggest problem is that everyone's trying to do everything.
Yeah, it's tough. Well, because, and I have to say, that is the benefit actually of working with a coach, no matter if it's, each of us working with a coach or people coaching with us, it's having somebody that says, okay, that's great, 10 great ideas, but pick 2. It's funny because Tracy Connell, I've mentioned this on the show before, and that's why I don't feel uncomfortable sharing it here, even though this is sort of like an inside conversation, although completely public on social media.
Shh, everybody, don't tell anybody, and don't share the broadcast. No, just share the broadcast. No, go ahead.
But I've said it on the show and she knows it, so it's fine. But I've been her chairman of the board for the last 10 months. And the biggest challenge that Tracy has, and this is what I love about Tracy, is she is a multiple $1 million interior design firm. She is extremely successful. She is an extremely astute business owner, an extremely astute manager of people. She closes amazing projects. And when she first came to me with the conversation about doing the chairman of the board, I said to her, all right, because I ask you all the questions. What's your gross revenue? How many years you're in business? What's your biggest challenge? Blah, 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 blah. How does it, blah, blah, blah. And I said to her, after I asked her all the questions, I'm like, what's your biggest challenge? And she just said, I have a lot of ideas and I need help sifting through which ones to lean into and which ones not to. And I find that when you get to a certain level of business, like I am, like you are, like Tracy is, that, that's a lot of so it's like, what's the next 5 years? And I'm like, well, let's get the cars out. Let's see. All of these things are possible, right?
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because it is the dance of understanding everything that's possible and then zoning in and honing on the things that are worth doing, are worthwhile doing, and serve your existing businesses, if that is the case, and serve your future. I can tell you something that's coming in the future that I would love to share with you.
Yes, please do.
It's not really my thing, but I will be very instrumental in helping it. My daughter, Christy, who was the one that was psychoanalyzing me and calling me out and teaching me, she's launching a podcast.
Really? What's it going to be about?
So her podcast,
I love this.
I know. So her podcast is going to be Sass Says, because that's her nickname, Sassarella, Sass. Sass Says, the therapy sessions I didn't know I needed. And so here's the scoop on this. So Christy has 2 children. Juan Carlos was born 4 weeks before New Jersey closed down. And Lucy is 2.5 years old now. So she was 2 years when New Jersey closed down. And Lucy was a really, really, really hard baby. Christy and JC lived with us when Lucy was born for the first year. And if I didn't see it in plain eyeballs, I would have thought she was just whining and not putting her big girl panties on and not being a mother. Honest to God, this child was like...
You know my mother?
No, I'm telling you, Nick, this little girl, she cried, screamed. She would be fine all day. At 11 o'clock at night, she would start screaming until 8 o'clock in the morning for a year. And we all, the 4 of us, took turns walking her. And in hindsight, we recognized that Christy probably was experiencing postpartum depression in addition to having this really difficult baby. But it was hindsight. And that's, again, where, I'll own all the things I'm really good at, but the things I'm not good at are slowing down and being and so then when Juan Carlos was born, we were more aware to look at it for her. But then COVID came. And so she's had a lot of ups and downs. And Sarah Brennan, also this is public, she said it on the podcast and she said it on Michelle's podcast. Sarah Brennan, when Lucy was about a year, 9 months old, Sarah Brennan was on Michelle Williams' podcast. And she said how she goes to a therapist every week. And she's like, basically, I'm a normal person, but I know that my life is better when I go there and I dump and I talk and I process. And I listened to that and I called Sarah, and then I came home to Christy and I said, maybe you should go to therapy. And she was like, what? And I said, well, you're talking to me every day when I come home from work. I feel like I don't know the answers anymore. I'm not used to not having the answers for you anymore. And I feel like it's the same thing. And it's like, if I can't help you break through, then what are we doing? And so I said, go listen to Sarah on Michelle Williams' podcast. And so Christy called the next week for a therapist, and that will be 2 years. That was 2 years this September. She's been going to therapy, and the growth and the observations that she's had. And here's the aha that she had through COVID. And of course, now postpartum again, and COVID, and being isolated, and having these 2 babies and nobody to help, no mom to come over and take a night for her, right? Even when I mentioned that I was at her house 2 weeks ago, she requires us to have a COVID test and go from the testing place with the negative result to her house. And then you can't leave you can't leave. If you leave, you can't come back. So I plan like every 5 or 6 weeks to get the test and go for the weekend, right? But anyway, what she said is, what she's learned over the last 3 months is that there's a lot of people that have varying levels of anxiety and depression and postpartum. And until you talk about it, you don't realize, like, she's like, I have girlfriends from high school and college that we've never talked about this. And when I said something, they were like, my God, girl, same with me. And so she's going to do this podcast where she's going to let people talk about this, and she's going to interview therapists as her Power Talk Friday expert. So she's modeling a lot of the podcast against what I've done. And I'm really excited for her because it's going to be really good. And what I know it's going to be good is, I have right now 5 women that work for me. And when I started to tell them about this, 3 of the 5 then shared with me. No, I have 7 women that work for me. 3 out of them shared with me like their personal journey and how they're like, yeah, girl, me too. And me this.
Oh, LuAnn, I'm doing that whole, what you're not supposed to do, wait to talk, right? Because she so needs to have me as a guest. I had therapists for years when I was raising my kids, because I had very difficult medical situations and very unique. You know my stories with my family, right? I have a transgender son, and I have a gay son, and I had a child that cried. We calculated 15 hours out of a 24-hour day with a pediatrician. I said, can I try gripe water, which is basically Caribbean alcohol for children? And he's like, try it and let me know if it works.
We gave Lucy gripe water.
We could not. I gave a little to me and a little bit to her. But like, it was definitely, those difficult years were really, really tough. I think it's a great idea. I wish her luck. I'm a huge advocate of therapy to get you through tough times in your life. And it doesn't mean you're not normal. It means it's a great outlet so that you rely less on your loved ones to have the answers that they may not always have.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't want to become a burden on your loved ones. You want to handle things in your best possible way. And sometimes you just need a third party who has no ties to this situation, so you don't feel judged, and they don't know the personalities, and they just take your word for it, your vision of it, and they help you through it.
Right. And because I know, as much as I try and do my best to be objective, I'm still processing it through, being her mom, you know what I mean? And so one moment I'm processing it through, my God, my heart is breaking for what you're going through. And the other part, I'm processing it through my experience. And I'm like, just do it. And I'm like, no, it's not that easy if you're actually suffering from depression.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so Kelly, check out Honey Space for Moms.
Check out Honey Space for Moms.
No, thank you, Kelly. I'll mention that to her. But I decided. I
love the whole idea.
I know, we are a big community of a lot of women in our 2 communities. We have many men as well, but and of course hers isn't going to be just for women, but I do think it's, as moms, as business owners, she was looking at certain women going, how have you possibly built this business and you started it a month after you had a baby? Right. And then when she would talk to them, they'd be like, well, I've been in therapy and I've had to go on medication and that helped. And she's just like, oh, and I've had interviews on the podcast where off air, some of the designers have shared with me that they've gone through postpartum depression and how it conflicted with the business and being a mom. And so the idea is that we keep saying for decades, that we have to talk about it so there's no stigma. But yet we still have to say we have to talk about it so there's no stigma.
I know. We have to keep talking about it because and in every stage of life, there's different things that could cause you to go off kilter, cause you to get depressed, cause you not to know what direction to go in.
Right.
I mean, I went through a divorce. I mean, talk about killing your confidence, right? It's like, holy shit, wait, who am I now? Like, who am I? I was always a wife and a mom. Like, what happens then, right? So everybody, life is a shit show, basically, right? Life is a shit show, but
such a cheery weekend wind down.
you know what? But it's real. This is why I wanted to call this, what did I call this? It's a wild 5 years, right? Because it is. In 5 years, we have dealt with our children's ups and downs, our significant others' ups and downs, our own ups and downs, the universes, the economy, and here we are today, still going strong, still thinking about how we can help other people with what we do best, taking care of what we don't do best,
hiring it out,
right? By referring them out to other people and to make it okay for people to need help. So I think it's just real. I just think it's real. And that's why I wanted you to be my first guest. Because it's not just always about being profitable. It's not always just about how to communicate with your clients and how to sell them more and how to charge your worth and having the confidence. There's a lot of shit that goes on in the background. It's part of the reason why I love having Voxer for my clients, my group and my one-on-one clients, which is a little insane, but I feel like life and business coaching goes hand in hand. And when they have that moment of like, I just need to talk to Nancy. And I'm like, no, we meet once a month at this time and you can't get me anytime in between. It's like, I felt like sometimes I was losing people in between.
Yeah,
and I knew that
was great for that.
Oh my God, I just knew if they could get to me and I answer when I'm ready, I could give them that little bit of support and brain adjustment that gets them through that moment without it getting worse, right? Sometimes, most of the time, I think I'm pretty successful with that. But anyway, thank you so much for being my first guest for the new launch of Weekend Wind Down Thursdays. Now,
a lot of credit doing this, Dance. I really do. It's you say, oh, how do you get 3 shows out a week? But I can do interviews whenever I want. When you set Thursday at 4:30, that's a commitment.
I remember last time before I stopped after 2 years or so, someone's like, you never miss a Friday at 4:30. I'm like, yeah. But then I started getting tired and I thought, you know what? Time to take a break. I took a break. I just thought about it and I thought, I miss it. I want to bring it back. I've gotten a lot of feedback to that people wanted it back. Because it's just a conversation. So it's easy breezy. So thanks, LuAnn. I know you're going out to dinner tonight and you have to be on time.
That's it. Thanks, Dance.
All right. Cheers, everyone. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you next week on Weekend Wind Down, where I have one of my clients coming on to talk about her business. So look for that notice and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Bye.